Hey everyone, this is Kumar from Satvik Infotech. We are in our day 18 of our AWS Learning Series program. As part of our days 18, we are going to see about how to create AWS resources using CloudFormation template, which is nothing but infrastructure as a code in AWS. Okay, Uh, so in our last session, we have seen about how to write an YAML file because as I mentioned, AWS CloudFormation supports two languages. Basically, we can create your CloudFormation templates either in JSON format or in YAML format. So most of the technologies and configuration files are leaned towards YAML. Even I feel very comfortable writing this in YAML files. So that's the reason like I want to cover you YAML first before even we move on to cloud formations. Okay, so uh, when we start, right? So who will be using this cloud formation? So who will be doing all these things, right? So as a DevOps engineer, okay. So first of all, who needs to know what is cloud formation? So it can be anybody, right? It can be a developers, it can be an architect, or it can be a DevOps engineer. Everybody, whoever is using AWS, need to be aware of cloud formation because in enterprise no one is allowed to, most of the enterprises to my knowledge is not allowing you to create any resources in AWS using console. Okay, they will be either asking you to use CLI or cloud formation. Okay, CLI is nothing but probably we might have used AWS copy and everything, right? So even we can create the resources using CLI, and one of the best option to do that is like cloud formation, which is like specifically created for that. Okay, so before even so as I keep saying like cloud formation, right? So if you take any programming languages, it will have some kind of a structure to it. Okay, like let's say okay, you declare variables, you have a logics here, so you have an output block, something like that, right? So similar to that, cloud formation also has its own anatomy. Okay, so if you want to learn more about cloud formation anatomy, one second. So it was like very well explained in AWS documentation. So if you go here, template anatomy, so it has a sequence of block. Okay, so they have given the anatomy both in JSON format as well as in YAML format. The same I have took and kept in my Visual Studio for easy of explanation. So if you look into any cloud formation template, it should be having this kind of a structure. Okay, in any cloud formation template, you will be seeing something like AWS template format version. So basically, AWS template format version is something like a date which says which version of CFN template you are referring to. Okay, the latest version which has been used by AWS is 2010-0909. Okay, that's the date you will be seeing in most of the templates. That's the latest version which is currently available too. Okay, then the next question you might be asking, right? Hey Kumar, how do you know this date, exact date, right? Okay, this has been clearly mentioned in our AWS documentation. So if you look at the format version, they might have clearly given that the latest template format version is 2010-0909 and it's a currently only valid value. No other value is allowed basically. Okay, so what is this description? So you need to understand, right? So whenever you create any AWS template, it would be easy if you give a description. So for what purpose you have created this particular template. So probably you can say that okay, these users can use that. Okay, if you want to run this particular template, you need to be provided with this kind of a privileges, roles, and anything. So whatever you want to give a inputs to the user or any information to the user, that can be provided in description section. Okay, so the third part is metadata. So you guys know, right? Metadata is nothing but data about the data. Basically that's a precise definition you always see, right? So what is the data about data? Here the data is something like your CFN template. So you are going to write few more additional informations about your CFN itself. Okay, in the metadata section, there are few more important concepts like how do your CFN template needs to handle CFN init blocks. Okay, and also like CFN metadata will have information whether this has been created either using the designer or the template which you have created on your own, something like that. If you have taken this template from the designer or sample, it will have those informations as well. So I will show you when we really do it practically. Okay, and the third part is parameter. So any programming language, right? So if you guys remember, like when you started initially, you might start with hello world program, and then any programming language you learn, you will go with your arithmetic calculation. So how to add two numbers or multiple two numbers. So once you are done with that, you will see how do I parameterize my input. Okay, how do I take different input values to do that, right? The same way AWS CFN also uh, can do a static value. You can hard code everything statically, but it cannot be reused, right? So as being a DevOps engineer, we always lean towards reusability. So we will be using much of like parameters. Okay, we will be using parameters extensively because we will create a template and we will share across multiple developers or application teams to consume that. And also with this, you enforce standards as well, because we don't allow other people to write their templates. We create a template and we share across the team with the help of a CI pipeline. It can be any CI pipeline. It can be a Circle CI, Jenkins, or AWS deployment tools or Azure deployment tools, whatever it is, right? So you can use any CA for that sake, but we will be publishing that CA along with the CFN so that they can just pass the parameter to the CA and we will consume it through CFN. Okay. Okay. So if you look at the next thing, right, rules. So what are these rules is all about, right? So rules are conditions, or you can say constraint applied on the input parameters. So basically, if you see the input parameters, right? For example, if I want to restrict the user, or I want to validate the user if he is giving only this specified value. For example, for region, whether he is giving US East, so I don't want a user to give any other value. So if I want to only give US East, US West, right? So if only two options I am expecting, if we give US West, I should not agree it. Or if he is give Oregon region, I should not accept it. Or if he give Asia specific region, I should not accept it. So those kind of rules we can be set in these rules. And again, mapping is again a kind of a rule which we will set it in a key value pair. We will say like what kind of a mapping we are going to do. Okay, conditions. Okay, these conditions are nothing but the conditions for your template itself. Okay, what condition you can say, okay, if this particular condition matches, do this activity. For example, you have a parameter called environment. Okay, if environment is dev, okay, then create an EC2 instance of type T2 micro. So that's one condition, right? So in EC2 instance type, you will set a T2 micro if condition is this. If condition is like prod, create a 4x large, something like that. Okay, transform. So I have never used so far, but okay, it's nothing to do with if you want to do any modification or changes, like for example creating the name or any other properties you can do with the transform. Resources. Okay, before looking into resources, right? Resources and output. In this particular template, the only mandatory field is resources. Okay, all this can be an optional, all these are optional. So you can use or you cannot use. AWS CFN is nowhere going to complain any complaint about missing of this particular properties. But resources is the important property where you have to create a resource for AWS to run the CFN. Okay, either you need to create a bucket or EC2 or VPC, subnet, security group, it's all resources, right? So you should have a resources, that's a mandatory field. Okay, so output. Output is nothing but if you want to pass a value from one template or one stack to other stack. Okay, now you might be asking, hey Kumar, you are saying something like stack, what is that? Okay, so the logical representation. Okay, for example, the logical representation of the resources is nothing but your template. Okay, the execution of this template will be done through stack. Okay, it's kind of an isolation. This template will get isolated within a stack and then it get executed. Okay, So if you want to pass a value from one stack to other stack, you need to get that value and assign it to output so that it's visible for the next program. Okay, if you guys have seen my Linux shell scripting, there is something like profiles, okay, which pass the parameter variable to the other scripts, and there is something like export of a variable which can share the value of a variable throughout the session, means that any script which runs there can use. So something like that. So when you set something as output, the upcoming stacks can consume it, or the next immediate stacks can consume it. Okay, we will see all this in action while we doing the practical. Okay, so before that, let's have a quick overview in the UI part. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to cloud formation. Okay, when I go to cloud formation service, okay, I see something like stacks, stack set, exports, designer. Okay, registry and all you don't want to use. Let's see. Okay, okay. Before even we discuss all these things, right? So, uh, right, in the latest trending world, we keep moving with cloud vendors. There are multiple cloud vendors like popping up day in, day out. Okay, and the most three popular vendors are like AWS, Azure, and GCP. Okay, there are few more like Alibaba, Oracle, Informatica. There are many more. It's coming. Okay, but in this case, right, if you know cloud formation, you can create resources only with AWS. If you know ARM templates, you can create resources only with Azure. Okay, for GCP, I am not pretty much sure about it. Okay, but you can ask me, right? Hey, Kumar, like my enterprise uses like multi-cloud vendor, so I need to create resources in all these clouds. So I don't want to go with cloud agnostic infrastructure as a core tool. There where you see about Terraform. Okay, Terraform is see again infrastructure as code tool, but it's not cloud specific. Okay, it's not cloud agnostic. That's why you see like many places for DevOps positions, you will see Terraform as a mandatory technology to know. Okay, so before that, you guys can ask, okay, Kumar, like rather than you teaching like CFN, you might directly start with Terraform. Okay, so that's a pretty much good idea, right? And also it's a fair ask. But always, like as I always say, you should know basics of infrastructure as a code using one cloud provider so that you will understand the concept in very detail. Okay, when you learn that specific tools like Terraform. Okay, that's where like I want to give you few insights. So if you guys were following me from the beginning, that's how my curriculum was designed, right? So I go with Linux shell scripting, then I went into like GitHub, like how to do that. Then we came into AWS. In AWS, we started with very basic, and then we are looking into very detailed how to create the things manually. Now, whatever the things which we created manually so far, those things we are trying to automate using cloud formation. So once you know how to automate with one cloud provider, you will understand the core concepts. What are the things which you need to consider while doing this automation? So the same applies whether you use Terraform or ARM or any GCP specific tools or anything, right? So that applies. Okay, so understanding is more important, not the technology, I would say. Okay, if you have a clear understanding, you can implement in any technology with a few clicks around in Google. So understanding is a major part. Okay. With that being said, let me open my PPT. Just bear with me for a minute. Uh, which one? Okay, I forgot. Okay, this is the one. Okay. So, what is my plan as part of cloud formation is considered? Okay, so by this time you guys might be aware of like how to create this architecture in console. If I ask you to build this architecture in console, you guys were very well created because I think we have done this architecture multiple times in console. Okay, so you should be pretty well aware of it. But so I am going to show you the same architecture. How do you automate? Okay, how do you create the entire architecture in a single click? Okay, that's where like we are going to focus in another 2 to 3 sessions. Okay, it will be a really a detailed session for you. Okay, but we go step by step. We don't want to rush all together. We go step by step, right? Okay. So coming back to our cloud formation. So as I mentioned, stack is something like which is going to encapsulate your cloud formation templates. Okay, before that, okay, try to create a stack. So stack has three options. It says template is ready. So if you have your template handy, okay, if you have created and your template is either stored in S3 or if you have it in your local, you can use this option. Okay, if you don't have any template, uh, AWS provides some default templates to use, so which you can check it out here. Okay, it will create a lamp stack. Okay, hope you guys Linux, I think Apache, M is MySQL, P is PHP. So that's where like lamp is meant for. So either you can create a lamp stack in multiple easy, simple, everything they might have given. So if you want to learn more about it, you just click it and see that cloud formation. So if you click it and view in designer, it will show you. Okay. So and the third option is you design your own thing using the UI, which is provided by AWS. Possibly I haven't used this option in my real time too much. Okay, but it's a good tool to start with. Okay. For example, let's try to do a small thing here. Create template in designer. Let it get loaded. Okay, if you know the service which you are trying to create, for example, I want to create a S3 bucket. So let me navigate to the service. It's all like services. So click on S3. So there is a bucket. Just drag and drop. Okay, it has given me the code to create a bucket. Let me copy this code. Okay, let me go to VS Code. Okay, I have a testing.cf which is empty. Let me paste this. Okay, if you see, as I mentioned, okay, it does not have description block. It does not have metadata. It does not have depends on condition, whatever the block output, nothing. Okay, see these are the options, metadata. So it gets added. Okay, deletion policy depends on condition. So you can keep adding it and finally you can generate a final template here. Okay, this is a final template. Okay, if you see it has AWS template format version. Okay, this one is there. Does it have description? No, because those are optional. So I don't want to have metadata. Yes, it says data about the data, right? So this metadata says this particular template has been created using CloudFormation Designer and the designer ID, size, width and position of the objects and resource. This is a mandatory and it says S3B something, right? So this is nothing but logical name. Okay, logical name which is going to identify a bucket resource in this particular CFN. Okay, so this is a logical name created for this particular bucket resource. Okay, properties, it has multiple properties but none of them has been used. And again, this is going to be the metadata which is getting imported from your cloud designer. Okay, to be precise, as I mentioned, everything is optional. I can quickly remove all these things. Okay, I don't want to even have this metadata. So again, properties is empty. Why it's empty? If you want to know why the property has been given as dictionary and not an list, you should really understand about this particular type. Okay, go to Google. I think here itself you can find. Working with stack, set, template reference. Okay, it will be easy if I go CFN template. Okay. So if you see how to create a AWS S3 bucket using CFN, the complete syntax has been given here. So the list of properties has been listed here. Okay. So before even you understand all these properties, you should know how to create a bucket manually. That's what like we have seen many times. It's very important because whether the parameter is mandatory or whether the parameter is optional, Everything you come to know only by this. For example, I am going to S3. Let me try to create a bucket. Okay, I am going to create a bucket. Okay, sample Satvik. Okay. So did I did any other changes? Am I doing any other changes here? Nothing. Everything left default. If I create a bucket, it will get created. Okay. Did I touch any properties of it? No. Okay. Let me delete it. Okay. The same way. Okay. Where is that? So all these properties are optional. If you want, you can use, or if not, you don't want to use. So either you can read and understand what are the things are mandatory, what are the things are optional, and also like there is something like update. I will explain you in a few minutes. Okay, you come to know what is optional, what is like mandatory, and everything. Got it? Okay. So as we created a manual S3 bucket just few minutes back, I know properties are not mandatory. Okay, so I am going to remove this, or you can have it as an empty. Okay, so this particular thing is like really concerning me. Let me create as Satvik bucket. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is a logical name. This is not the name of my bucket. Okay, if I want to create my custom name, I need to use my properties, because if you look at the properties, there is something like bucket name. Yeah, here. So if you look at, if you give this property, this will be taken as your bucket name. That should be very unique. Okay, if you are not giving the bucket name, it's going to create a bucket with the name of, in this format, stack name underscore logical name underscore random value, just to ensure the uniqueness. Okay, so this will be the format for any resource. For that sake, this will be the naming standard will be followed if you are not providing the name property or other properties related to that. Okay, let me delete this. Okay, now I have a template. This is a simple template which is going to create a bucket. So let me try to see how to execute it just for sample. Okay, let me go back. Okay, now I have my template ready. So I have my CFN ready. So but it's not there in S3 yet. So I want to upload a file. So let me choose the file. Where did I keep it? Here, okay. So let me select the testing CFN. Okay, so guys, this is very important. You should be aware of. Okay, because as part of this particular training, I am going to show you step by step creation of the resources. So I will be keep updating my template and adding it to the stack. But when you work on your practicals, you don't really do this. You understand the video and try to complete the template, do only once. Because uploading to S3 or downloading to S3 is going to charge you back. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, so I have added my testing CFN. So my name is like, okay, Satvik CFN. Do I have any parameters? No, so I'm not going to give anything. So forget about everything for now. We will see that in real detail in next or other sessions. Submit. Okay, now you see the events are getting fired. Okay, these events can be monitored using AWS config. Okay, or okay, let me refresh it. So it says creation in progress, creation in progress. So if you see, this is a stack. So first it's creating the stack initialization, then it's creating the bucket initialization. I think by this time the bucket should be created. So if you see, the bucket creation completed, and with that the entire stack is also complete. The execution of the entire stack is also complete. So let me go to the S3. Okay, let me refresh this page. Okay, So you see, right? Satvik CF1 is my stack name. Satvik bucket is my logical name and some random values. So that's how AWS creates the bucket names. Okay, but if you provide the property, the name whatever you request will get created. Okay, hope you guys understand. And also one more thing you see CFN templates. Okay, this is nothing but where all your template files are getting uploaded. When I create a stack, okay, the template files will get uploaded to this. Okay, this S3 bucket, and then only it's used for your execution. Okay, great. So now we know how to create a stack, we know how to create a template, and we know how to execute it. So let's jump on to our use case. So in this particular use case, okay, when we initially discussed, guys, if you don't understand any concepts, I would highly recommend you guys to watch my day 12 of VPC session. Okay, so that's where I really explained why are we doing this each and every activity in VPC with a live example. So if you understand my day 12 session, it will be really easy, or else it will be little difficult for you to follow up. Okay, so if you look at region is AWS global, so you are not going to decide anything on that. But still, you can even say region also in AWS template. But for now, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to follow my US East one, which is my default region. Okay, if you are not specifying region, it's going to take the default. I am going to ignore that for now. So the next step of mine is going to create a separate VPC. Okay, so if you remember my earlier classes, we have used our default VPC which came within our account. So if you remember our day 12 session where I have shown you about an example of VPC peering, where I have created a separate VPC, and I explained you what are the other parts which should be there with VPC in order to work seamlessly. Okay, so if you look at our architecture diagram as well, so we have a VPC, we have an internet gateway. So and within internet gateway, we add within VPC we add route table, okay, which is going to tell like how my incoming request has to be handled, from where to where my incoming request has to flow. So everything has been configured in my route table, and we have a subnet, which is again a subset of IP addresses from your VPC. So there are many more things we have discussed. Okay, how to edit the routes so that from your route table to internet gateway the connection is established. So everything we have discussed in day 12. So if you understand those concepts clearly, it will be pretty easy. Okay, now so I have made a template readily available for this use case, but now I am going to show you piece by piece so that you better understand. We'll start building it by executing each and every resources individually so that you will follow along. Okay, great. So my template is here. So let me copy the first piece of it. So I'm going to reuse the same this piece. Okay, let me have a bucket also, no harm in that. Let me delete this which I don't want. Home shift and delete. Okay, great. Shift tab. Okay. Okay. So YAML, the two spacing is like mandatory. Okay, but CFN does not limit that. It needs the standard in the same order. It should be nothing much. It's mandate. Okay. So this is like it should be here. Okay. So now what I did. Okay, this is the bucket block. Okay, this is my VPC block. So what I am saying, create a VPC. Okay, so if you go and look at this particular CFN format, you will get those details. CFN. Okay, you will have this. So what is your type? What is the properties? If you look at what is the type, what is the properties, there are many possible options are available. And one more important thing, if you are not providing any of this option and it's optional, then the default value will be picked up. Okay, so let's go to our thing. So I said like, okay, my logical name is going to be CF and VPC, and the resource of type is going to be a VPC, and in the properties I am saying host name, enable the host name, and this is going to be my CIDR block. Why typo has come in? Okay, okay, you should ensure it's a case sensitive one. So it's C is caps, right? Okay. So being it's a case sensitive, if you are using wrong case, it's going to fail. Okay. So the CIDR block, you know, right? VPC is like kind of an isolation which you have in a larger cloud. Okay, for your account. So I am saying this is my IP range. So this is a CIDR block for my VPC, and the DNS support I am saying enable, and this is tags. I don't know what happened. Okay, tags key value. Okay. So I'm saying create a tag called stack and this one. Let me check. Okay, I should have a space. Okay, great. So and tags are like optional, but I want to show you all these options. So that's why for the first template I used everything. Okay, guys, hope you understanding. And you can also see that okay, if in YAML file, as I mentioned, either for string you can enclose with single quotes or double quotes, or you can even ignore. Okay, so for string and boolean I have enabled single quotes true true. This is a string, I have not even enclosed it. So if you want to understand what needs to be done and where, you need to go and understand, learn the YAML basics which I have took in our last session. Okay, and also like why this hyphen comes in. So whenever you see a hyphen, it's an array of tags. Okay, if there is, see for example, for properties we don't have any hyphen, it means it's all a dictionary. So properties is a dictionary, tags is a array. Okay, you need to understand that particular differences too. Okay, so I have saved it. Now you know, right? So in earlier in my cloud formation I have created a new stack and did every changes. Now I am not going to do a new stack creation, I am going to update it. So if I click on update, it again asks, do I need to use a current template? I am saying use the replace current template. If you use current template, it's going to pick up the template from S3, which I don't want. I want to overwrite the template because I have done changes. So I'm going to upload it again. So again, I'm going to select the same testing. Next, next, next. So submit. Okay. Now if you see, it says update in progress and create failed. It says create failed property validation failed for resource CF and VPC with message as extraneous key. Oh, okay. See, I think there was some copy paste typo. It's enable DNS name. You see, right, how it's erroring out? Let me double check with the template. Enable DNS hostname, enable CIDR block. Enable DNS hostname, CIDR block, enable DNS support, tags, key stack, value protection. Okay. Let me save it again. So it's still in progress. Okay, it's rolling back the changes. Okay, it still says update rollback complete cleanup in progress. So it needs to do a cleanup. Let's wait for the cleanup to happen. Okay, let the cleanup take some time and come back. Meanwhile, what I do is like let me create a new stack. So template is ready because I don't want to waste too much of time. My stack name is template cfn. So submit, let it create. So now it's again going to create a bucket, but I think bucket will fail, or it will say already exists because bucket. Okay, I think the random value will be duplicate and it's going to create it. Okay, cfn vpc is create complete. Bucket also created. Okay, template is also completed. So now if you go and see for a bucket, it will have 3 buckets now. Okay, my stack name is different and logical name is same and the random value. And if you go to my vpc block, you will see 2 vpc created. Come on, why slow? Okay, hope you are seeing this 2 vpc, right? So there will be 2 vpc. The one which is starting with 172 is the default vpc, and this is a new vpc which we created. So before we look at the new vpc, let's have a quick look at our old vpc to have a better understanding. So those who guys have seen our day 12 session, you might be knowing, right? So this is a vpc which has 2 subnet, and 2 subnets are mapped to a single route table, and the route table is again connected to a internet gateway. So let's have a quick look at our new vpc to see if everything exists there. So if you look at our new VPC, I have a VPC and I have a route table. So but I do not have a subnet and I do not have a internet gateway. Okay, so we know, right, internet gateway is a separate resource which I need to create. Internet gateway. So if I click on this, it's a separate resource in AWS to be created. So I have one internet gateway which is default and it's attached to this VPC. This is not ours. So I need to go and create, select a VPC. B7 is mine, I guess. Okay, so there is no internet gateway attached to this particular VPC. So I need to create one internet gateway and attach to this VPC, right? So let me go to my template. So if you go here, the next block is creation of internet gateway. Okay, so if you see, I am creating a resource of type internet gateway and it depends on VPC. So what is depends on? Depends on is nothing but, so after this VPC creation, my internet gateway will start creating. So that's where the depends on will come in. So there is something like explicit dependency and implicit dependency comes into place. So this is explicit dependency. I am saying explicitly you hold on. Okay, you hold on for VPC creation to complete and then create an internet gateway. Okay, now I have added one more resource. Let me create a CFN and see how it goes. So I'm going to update this same stack. So replace the template, upload from my local choose file, testing. Okay, next, 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 submit. Now you see, as there is no changes to the bucket or anything, it's nowhere going to create the bucket again and again. So it will see it automatically knows that the bucket is there, VPC is there. It's just going to create only internet gateway. See, if you see, it started my CFN. Okay, it directly went into internet gateway creation. It does not even create a bucket. It does not create my VPC, because when I use update, it ensures that, okay, it compares the current state with the configuration and understand what is getting changed, and it creates based on that. Okay, that's very important. So that's where it keeps creating or it keeps storing your configuration file. Okay, my internet gateway is getting created. It's still taking my time. So if you go here, you can just remove it and refresh. You see one more new internet gateway got created, but its status is detached. Okay, by this time I think our formation also might be completed. Okay, still it's in progress, but it will complete in a minute or so. It will be finishing it up. Okay, so let it run. But for our use case, right? We have our. Let's go to the VPC dashboard. So this is our new VPC. Now, if you okay, why it's not getting refreshed? Okay. Now, if you see it here in our new VPC, I created internet gateway. Okay, but the internet gateway is not showing in our network connection. Okay, so why it's not showing in the network connection? As I mentioned, internet gateway is an separate resource in AWS, so which I created. Okay, that particular separate resource is created, but it not attached to any VPC. Okay, if it's attached to VPC, it will show here. It's not attached to any VPC. So when you write any code, it's your responsibility to attach it. So even when I did manually, I did attached manually. Okay, so that's why I am asking you guys to understand each and every step which I am doing it in manual. Even I received multiple comments stating that okay Kumar, you are explaining too much of details, which I don't think so we will be really using. No guys, believe me, if you are not aware of those details, you will never understand the CFN. Okay, at the end of the day you will be saying, oh this is very huge CFN man, or it's very complex CFN. Okay, there is nothing complex if you understand and do things. Okay, that's where like I am going to show you step by step today, but tomorrow onwards I will be moving little bit faster. I don't want to show you each and every step, but today I will be showing it. Okay guys, just understand. Okay, now so till this my internet gateway got created. I can see this internet gateway, I can see this VPC, I can see this bucket, but I am not seeing this internet gateway attached to my VPC. So there should be a attached gateway should be there. Okay, this is the block. Okay, now you guys can ask me, hey Kumar, like you keep adding like few resources in your CFN, how do I know like which resource to add? So if you want to know which resource to add, you should know how to do it manually. That's the beauty of it. If you don't know certain things how to do manually, then you will not know how to do an automated way. Okay, that's more important. So that's where I always go with manual first and then go with automated. Okay, now as I mentioned, right, if you look my day 12, I might have created an internet gateway manually, and I might have attached this one manually to my VPC. So the same thing I am going to do right now. So attached gateway is another entity or another resource in AWS. Why it's a separate entity? Because internet gateway is not only thing to communicate to the external world. There is something like VPN in AWS, which is also there. So that's where the attached gateway is a separate entity. That's why the name itself does not show or relate with internet or VPN. It's generic name VPC gateway attachment. Okay. So if I want to attach my gateway, I need to say something like what is my source and what is my target. So here my source is like internet gateway. My target is VPC. Those two things needs to be attached, right? So that's where you see the properties of two. So VPC ID reference CFN VPC. Internet gateway reference internet gateway logical name. So now you might be asking, hey Kumar, what is that exclamatory reference? Okay, exclamatory reference is something like I am going to refer an identity ID of the resource which is previously created in the current CFN template. Okay, so for example, if I am referring CFN VPC, when it get executed, the VPC ID will get substituted here. It's going to reference and take the VPC ID. So when it runs, it's going to reference and take the internet gateway which is created in the previous step. Okay, by that way, this is going to happen. So now you guys can ask me a question. Hey Kumar, then what is the meaning or what is the difference between depends on or references? So depends on is something like explicit dependency. So I am explicitly saying you wait for my VPC creation to complete. Okay. Here it's implicit, means that as I am referring the ID, it implicitly means that it should run only after VPC and internet gateway creation. because I need those ID to get this execute successfully. So this is implicit dependency, this is explicit dependency, which you need to be aware of. And this concept is same across Terraform or ARM template, wherever. Maybe the way you implement may be different, but the concept implicit dependency or explicit dependency is same. Okay, great. So let me run this update. Let me go to CloudFormation. Let me click on an update. Replace current one, upload from template, choose file. Guys, remember, I am doing multiple times updating my S3 bucket. So which is going to cost to me, but you guys don't try in home. So now again is only going to run only the attachment, because my CFN is good enough to realize that what is the change. Okay, you see attach gateway is alone running. So it should be complete by any time. Okay. Okay, let me go to the VPC and refresh once here. Okay, now if you look at my internet gateway, the status is showing as attached. Okay, it means that it got attached to my VPC. Let me show you in the VPC. So this is the one which we were using. So if you go down, now you see you have a VPC, we have a route table, and we have an internet gateway which is associated to this VPC. Great. Now the pending item is subnet. Let me try to add a subnet. Okay, so subnet type is AWS EC2 subnet. As you all know, subnet is going to a subset of IP addresses from VPC. So by anyhow, it should know what is your VPC, right? And again, subnet is a part of VPC. So I am referring the VPC ID here. And as I mentioned, subnet is going to be a subset of IP addresses from VPC. So it has its own CIDR block. Okay. And also if you go to our images, subnets are specific to availability zone. So subnets are specific to availability zone. So I need to specify in which availability zone my subnet has to get created. Okay, so if you look at here, you see some other functions similar to ref or something like that, right? So you have something like select and something like get AZs. Okay, so to be precise here, AWS has defined multiple functions. Okay, we call those functions as intrinsic function. Okay, so what are those functions are meant for? So AWS knows that okay, you cannot keep writing all the logics which can be reusable many times. So they have created their own function and given for easy of use. For example, if I use get ages, so get age is what it will do. It's going to return me a array of okay availability zones which is there in my default region. Okay, if I explicitly specify region anywhere, it's going to specifically return for that particular region. But in my case, I am going to use my default region, which is nothing but US East. So it's going to return an array of availability zones. So in US East, you have US East 1A, B, and C. Okay. So what is the 0? So 0 is for select. So select is going to select the zeros index of the value returned by getAZ. So if it is returning three values, it's going to select the first value of this array. So it's an first value in that index position of 0. Okay. So that's the meaning of select 0 comma getAZ is. If you want to know the complete list of intrinsic function, you can just Google it out. Intrinsic function in AWS CFN. Maybe okay, it's a typo. Intrinsic function. Okay, these are the functions. get AZ, split, select, reference, everything. So there are much more, okay, and are also. These are the most used functions. Okay, now I have a subnet. So let me save it. Update my stack. Choose a file. Testing CF1. Guys, all these questions might be asked in your interview. Okay, you guys should be like very clear in explaining. And also, as I usually say, if you guys are explaining clearly one of the use case, okay, then you will for sure going to crack your interview, because the time you are going to spend is just 1 hour with interviewer. In that 1 hour, if you are going to explain any of the use cases with the service name, proper services name and the functionality, almost 30 to 40 minutes will go away. Okay, so it means that you are bringing the interviewers under your control. You are going to tweak interviewers to ask the question in which subject you are very good at. Okay, so it says update complete. Let me quickly see my VPC by refreshing it. Okay, if you see, I have a VPC, I have a subnet. Subnet is routed connected to my main route table and my internet gateway. Okay, if you look at, I have a DHCP option. Okay, hope by this time you might be knowing like what is DHCP. It's dynamic host configuration protocol, which is responsible for assigning the IP address for the uh, servers or resources getting added to this particular VPC. Okay, the main route table which get created automatically when VPC is created, and network ACL which defines the inbound and outbound rule for your subnet. It's going to be a firewall for your subnet, as security groups are firewall for your EC2 instances. Similar way, network ACL is for as a firewall for your subnet, where you can define what is inbound and outbound rules. Okay, so now we have all the required resources. So here is the key. Okay, you guys have to realize. So if you compare with our default VPC, we have all our functionalities in hand, but only one thing is pending. So I have my subnet connected to route table. I need to ensure my route table is getting connected to IGW, Internet Gateway. But the tricky part here is that there is no way you can refer or find the ID of the default route table programmatically. Means that now what I can do, let me show you. So what is happening? Something happening to my mouse. Bear with me, guys. Okay, let me copy this. Testing. Okay, so now I want to add something like route. Okay, basically if you go here, oh sorry, here. So now if you go to this route table, I need to edit route and add route for my internet gateway. Okay, if I do this, the connectivity will be established. So I am going to cancel this out. If I want to do this, there are two ways. First thing, I need to know the route table ID. Okay, let me go here. So route table ID, I can remove this. Okay, let me save it. Control S. Cloud formation. Update. Choose file. Testing. Open. Next. 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 Submit. So now if you see, it's going to update me the route alone. Okay, so it says update complete. Now if I go to my VPC and refresh, okay, it's all done. Correct? Okay, but the tricky part here is this. This is the tricky part. So if you look at my route table, I have hard coded my route table value because there is no way that you can know this route table ID which is created as default with VPC. Means that the main route table which is created as part of your VPC, AWS CloudFormation does not have ability to fetch that. Okay, either you need to hard code or you need to do create a new public route table. Okay, hope you guys are understanding, right? So if I give reference of this logical name, it's going to give me, for example, here I am going to get the VPC ID. Okay, but the route table is getting created implicitly or automatically when I create VPC. So I cannot get that route table ID dynamically. So that's a problem. Okay, so what we will generally do, we need to create a public route table and configure everything from the scratch. Guys, you are understanding? I hope so. Okay, let me tell you again. So if you look at the route table ID, as I know the ID from the console, I hard coded it to get this things created, the link established. Okay, but in real time, we don't do this because we don't know what is the main route table ID, because which is automatically getting created when VPC is getting created. Okay, so in those scenario, rather than hard coding, what we will do, we will create a new route table itself so that we will have the control of the ID. Okay, that's what I'm going to show you now. So if you go to my VPC, I will be creating a brand new route table. Okay, so let me delete this. Okay, so my route table is going to refer to this particular VPC. So I'm saying associate my route table to this particular VPC. That's all I have mentioned, nothing much. So let me save it. So update the stack. So okay. So next, submit. Now what you will have is you will have a one more route table added here if things goes well. Okay, now you see this is a brand new route table which got added. So my responsibility is to remove this link. Okay, remove this subnet link and point it to new route table, and remove this internet gateway link and point it to the new route table. So that's what I am going to do now. So let me quickly show you how to do that. Okay, let me first try to add a link to my internet gateway. So I am going to add a route to attach my internet gateway basically. So I am saying type is route because I am going to add a route. Okay, and it's explicit dependency I am creating. Wait for a gateway to get created because I am going to attach internet gateway, right? So I am adding an explicit dependency here. Wait for internet gateway to create it, and then add this particular thing. So if you look at now route table ID, I am using public route table, means that it will have the ID of the newly created route table. Okay, that's a beauty here. Let me create it again. Again, now you will see few more interesting part because we have updated the links and everything, right? So we are going to change the links, so you will see something updates happening in CloudFormation. Hey, one moment, guys, one moment. Okay, let's see where we are. Okay, it says update completed. So public route got created. Okay, now go here, refresh your VPC. You will see something getting changed there. So if you see, my internet gateway connection is now pointing to the new public route table. Now I need to point my subnet, which is already associated to my old route table to new route table. So for this, we have something like subnet association. Okay, if I do this, my subnet association will also get changed. Okay, my subnet table association, again it's of type subnet table route association, properties subnet, and here my route table, the public route table. Okay, let me save this. Let me edit this CFN. Guys, hope you are able to realize how CFN is helpful to us. Okay, with the same template, I can create hundreds of VPC as needed. Only thing is I need to parameterize the CIDR block, nothing much. Okay, let me see what's the status. Come on. Okay, it says route table association completed and it says update completed. So let me refresh this VPC. Oh, that's really great, right? See, if you see, now I have a subnet which is linking to my newly created route table, and this is getting internally created to internet gateway. So this route table we are going to leave as such, we are unused. Okay, so no harm in that. So the overall VPC block. So 1 second, guys, there is something happening. What is this noise? Okay, what is it? Open recorder. Okay, so if you look at this, right? So we have created, still now what we did is we created a VPC, we created an internet gateway, okay? We created a public subnet and we created one bucket. That's it. We have not done anything else. So we need to do remaining part. We need to create a EC2 and we need to create a key pair and we need to ensure that all the user data components are configured and we complete this particular architecture. So right now we have created all the infrastructure or network related components. Tomorrow session we will create EC2 and the key pair and everything, and we will try to complete and wrap this up with this architecture, and then in upcoming sessions we will be seeing other architecture implementations. Okay, hope you guys understood this complete CFN. Okay, if you go in real time, if you have hundreds of resources, it keep getting growing. So by seeing the CFN, don't get confused. That's what I want to insist. You need to learn why are these things are done. Okay, why these things are done, why route table is added, why public route is getting added, everything you should know. Without that, it is really difficult to create a best in class CFN for your team. Okay, if you look at the CFN, if I just parameterize this CIDR block, I can able to use it for any team. Okay, so and any region as well. So that's the beauty of it, right? Okay, so one more beauty is that okay, I have created like many resources now. So earlier I need to ensure that all my resources are deleted. So now I do not have that burden. If I click on a delete stack, okay, if I want to delete the stack, it automatically take care of deleting all the underlying components created. So it deletes everything, my bucket, the VPC, subnet, internet gateway, everything. See, it says Satvik bucket got deleted, public route got deleted. So it take care of every deletion automatically. So you don't need to worry about it. Okay, that's one more beauty. So this will be used very often in real time, because every month you do patching or reiterate your machines using this particular process. Okay, and again we are going to use the same CFN while we learn about Jenkins and code deploy in AWS as well. Okay, great guys, great. If you guys understood or learned anything new today, I would recommend you to share this video and like this video. Thanks for watching and thanks for supporting us.